have everyone correct. Nope. All right, let's call the town council work session to order. The first item on the agenda is a resolution ordinance authorizing Prairie State replacement power schedule with American Municipal Power, AMP. Joe, do you want to start it off?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Actually, I'm requesting to remove this item tonight. What we were asking council to do was approve a resolution to purchase some power due to our power plant was going to be out of service in the fall for an outage. But we found out late this evening that that will not be necessary because they're only going to be taking one unit of the 2 units down, and we do have excess power in other areas, so therefore this resolution is not necessary anymore. So
Excellent, good news. Nice. I like it. Any comments from council? Good. Okay, next item. Councilman T-Wall asked for this item to be placed on the agenda to rescind the special use permit for workforce housing. Mr. T-Wall?
Yes. When this was brought to us, I think back in 2014 or somewhere in that area, maybe 16, I'm not sure. But anyway, we were led to believe that this was going to be a project that was going to be solely done by the EDA. Mr. McDonald came in and told us that it would be under their auspice for 5 years. After the construction, and they would do the renting, and they would also be doing as the actual landlord. And so with that in mind, the council at that time voted to approve it with some exceptions as far as the street width and also allowing a development of more houses on the dead-end street, which is against our ordinances, which was equal to, I think it's 24, I believe, houses on a cul-de-sac street. And we allowed 36 more units to go in on that particular street. And we were led to believe, again, like I said, that the EDA was going to be the sole proprietor of owner for 5 years, and then that time it would be sold to the public sector. And now we find out that that was apparently either not true, because now we find that this new group, this contractor that's now bought the land, and we don't know any more about it now than we did before. We don't know what they're going to do. We don't know what aspect is this special use permit. Now, I was told that a special use permit goes with the title of a piece of real estate. Am I correct on that, Jeremy?
Correct.
And the reason I'm saying this is, if I would have known that this was not, she was not truthful to me, I would never have voted for this thing to start with. Because I like to have the workforce housing. But we were led to believe that they were going to build it, and they were going to actually do the renting. And now this has completely flip-flopped, and they're no longer even involved in it because the land's been sold to another person. And that's why I'm bringing it forward.
So what do you think the next step is? Gene?
Well, I don't know. I think that we need to, if it's going to, since the EDA is not involved in it, I think we need to be sure what's going to be built if the special use permit goes with the property, if it's sold. If it is, and I think we need to sit down with somebody who is going to do the construction to make sure that all these guidelines are being followed according to the special use permit. Or, if not, then they need to come back to us and get another approval, since it was done in a way that was actually not true.
Yeah, it appears, and again, please correct me, anyone. The contractor / owner, it appears from press reports that they may not have been given the full story either.
Not may not.
Yeah. So, Joe, what's your thoughts? Do you have any thoughts on this?
Really, at this point, we wanted to bring Gene's idea up to the table to see if council was agreeable to maybe pursuing something in that fashion, looking into the SUP or whatever our recourse of action would be.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say that what I heard Gene say, I think Gene wants to gather more information and find out what courses of action we do have. You know, we're not pointing fingers at the contractor or the owner. You know, I think that needs to be clear with them, but I do believe we need to find out from a planning and zoning perspective, from perhaps a legal perspective, George and Doug, you know, you know, the council went down a certain path based upon information that we were provided. It appears the information was fraudulent or it was misrepresented. And I think the person that misrepresented it is not available to talk to us, let's say. So I think we need to figure out a plan to unravel it. Is that what you're saying, Gene? Is that,
Yeah, I would. And again, I'm not saying that this, not to build the workforce housing.
Right.
But I just want to make sure if what we approved is going to be built there and not something has not been approved through us.
Okay.
And that's the main reason I'm looking at it, because, again, it was done fraudulently, and that's why I think we need to make sure that if this special use permit is going to be transferred with the title of the property, that they have to adhere to everything that's on this special use permit.
Okay, I think.
And I don't think that's out of line.
Yeah, Bill?
I was the one that championed this thing on the EDA. I was substituting in the local schools, and I listened to teachers. And many new teachers right out of college cannot get housing in this community. That's where it came up. In the early stages of this project with the EDA, it was discussed that the EDA would own it for 5 years and could only own it for 5 years. And I did quite a bit of extensive reading about other communities that gave discount housing pricing to new teachers. And I look at today, I resent the word resent, because that means you just want to draw back. And Jeremy, it's my understanding that they're almost shovel ready. They could start any day. Is that correct?
They have an approved site plan. They can submit it for a zoning permit and building permit any day. Generally, that process would take at least a week, but they can start construction very soon if they wanted to.
I mean, I don't have a problem with getting information from the contractor. I think that is viable information. But I resent the word rescind, because now you're telling someone that wants to, I'm tired of pushback in this community. Every time we have a project, there's 16 reasons why we can't do it. And now we're going to rescind what we've already approved because it was not a lie. I can tell you from the very day that we studied this thing, and we wanted the 5 years to put it in effect, hopefully to take a percentage of this housing to EMTs, police officers, and school teachers. My knowledge right now, I know there are 55 to 60 teachers leaving this community for a reason. They've never lived here. They're taking our tax dollars to Winchester, Frederick County, Stevens City, Strasburg, every place but here in this town. And every time we get a project, there's a pushback. And that kind of fires me up a little bit. If we have a problem, let's go find out what the information is. And that's why I'm pushing back on the word resent.
Yeah, I think we're all good with that.
I don't have a problem with that. I just want to get the facts and know that whether we're going in the same direction. But I
resent is a very strong word.
Well, I do have a problem with someone lying. And I can tell you right offhand, if I would have known what was going to happen, I would not have voted for it.
Thank you.
That original statement was correct. We wanted that from the EDA standpoint to control the housing, and we could only do it for 5 years.
That's correct.
Now, I don't know what happened thereafter. I do know what happened in the early stages.
Okay.
Jeremy, correct me if I'm wrong, but if there was any deviation from the 36 units, it would have to come back before council anyway, correct?
Absolutely. Unless it
Yeah.
was a lower number, they could develop fewer, but not greater.
But the ultimate use is going to be for apartments.
Correct. And they've got an approved site plan. They have to follow that. That was reviewed by the planning commission to be in compliance with your conditions, which are in the special use.
Thank you, Jeremy.
Okay. So we're in a fact gathering stage, sounds like. I think the council has Bill's comments, Gary's, and as well as Councilman T. Waltz. I think it's fair to say that you're going to spearhead getting with the attorney and getting with the planning to make sure what's available to us, if anything, if we need to do any action, make sure the contractor's living up to the agreement, et cetera. So,
Yeah, that was the whole intent. Gene brought that up at the last work session, so we wanted to bring them to the table for get input from all council.
okay, good. Any other discussion on that matter? Okay, I think that's the last item on the work session agenda. Let me go ahead and ask, is there any other business that needs to come before the body? Okay. Adjourn the meeting.